Yo, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only JD Rutherford. Go ahead and give this channel a subscribe, share it, leave some messages or comments, hit that notification bell so that you can be informed of all upcoming episodes. Let's get that subscriber mark up. I'm at about, give or take, maybe 700 subscribers right now. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning into this channel, getting that raw, real deal, uncut prison break experience that you may not get anywhere else. Now, I know there's a lot of prison type channels out there, convict channels. You got many to choose from. But I like to touch on a lot of the topics and a lot of situations and scenarios and basically call them bullshit on a lot of these celebrity role models that some of you may got is in a constructive way. I mean, a lot of people get mad at me and don't understand the content. But the way I look at it is that everybody is in prison to something in this life. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't necessarily have to be trapped in a cell. You could be in prison to anything. And it could be holding you back. Just as much as that prison cell holds back over 2 million people in this country right now as we speak. I mean, my own experience with it all is I've been in and out of the system. I've watched the system change. You know, I get a lot of people that come on these channels and they talk about their prison experience and how the institutions are where they come from. And I ain't been in every single state, so I can't even speak on what's happening in other states. But I can tell you what's happening in the California Department of Corrections, how I experienced it in the 90s, going into the late 2000s. The last time I was in a California facility was 2012. So I have a good, pretty clear idea of what it was like and what it had become. And it's quite a bit different than what it used to be. I also got a perspective on what the federal prison system looks like because I was in that as well. The release part of it all is basically the topic of this show. Halfway houses and sober livings. Now, a lot of you probably got a lot of experience with them. If you've done time, you've probably entered into a halfway house at some point in time. Sober livings, sort of the same as halfway houses, only the difference is you don't necessarily have to have gone to prison to go into a sober living. California specifically, there's sober livings all over the place. In almost every single neighborhood, every single suburb neighborhood in California, I guarantee you there's at least one sober living on that block somewhere. They're everywhere now. It's big business. People are making big bank off of them. And if any of you are interested in developing real estate and picking up some property, you in California or you're in a state that don't have a lot of sober livings, I would suggest that you go out there and purchase yourself a home, fix it all up, get you some licenses from the state and the feds, and make it into a sober living, man. You'll just be making that bank. I got homies and stuff out there that got sober livings and they're getting paid. They're charging people anywhere from $125 to $200 a week just to share a bedroom with another human being. It's almost like living in prison again. My experiences with sober livings have been, man, I've been to several of them in California. Halfway houses as well. My only halfway house experience, though, was from the feds on this last time. Now, my story is pretty wild on how I released. And I've shared it before, and if you've heard it before, well, then you're going to hear it again. But basically, in a nutshell, this is what happened to me. So, I get busted on a federal bank robbery back in 2012. I'd only been out, I got released from Chino like sometime around March 2012. Maxed out my number, gave them back my number, lost that K number that I've had ever since 1996. And I was basically on the streets, man. Living at one homie spot to the next, getting involved in all kinds of the wrong shit. So what did I do? I packed up all my stuff and I moved out towards Texas, that is. Amarillo, Texas. My mom was staying out there in Dallas, so I originally tried to go to Dallas for a little while, but couldn't really make it in Dallas and didn't, really understand the environment, couldn't get on my feet with a job or nothing like that. So I went out and started staying with my older sister in Amarillo. For those of you that think, and if you've heard and you subscribe to the philosophy, well, if you move up out of your environment and you go somewhere totally different, your life will change. Well, I'm here to call bullshit on that right here, because that's not really the case. You have to change what's inside of here before anything else. Your environment is the same no matter where you go. I could pack up and move right here from Oklahoma City, and I can move all the way up to Spokane, Washington. And I will find the same kind of people that I was mixing and mingling with back in Cali. Or if I was doing it here in Oklahoma City, I'll find the same people out there. Same people, different faces, different names. It's the same shit wherever you go. And that's the reality of it. The thing that I always like to tell people is if you're going to change your environment and go somewhere totally different than you've ever been before, you have to change this. Or else the environment don't matter. It's not really the environment that needs to change. You need to change to fit the environment. And whatever environment you go into, that's what it's going to be for you. So if you're in that mindset that I'm going to hustle, I'm going to slang dope, you're going to find all those people. And you're going to be way out of your area. But for me, being a California boy, being a sureño and all that, going up into Amarillo, Texas, I didn't know what the politics were. I didn't know who was what, who was doing what and where. I had no idea. For a long time, I didn't even know that we had issues with Texas Syndicate. I learned that through trial and error. And I started to meet a lot of different organizations out there, a lot of different cliques, a lot of different clubs, families as they like to call them out in Texas. They call them families. And it was a whole different element for me, environment, but there was the same kind of people doing the same kind of shit. To make a long story short, I ended up getting caught up in this bank robbery in Oklahoma City. Now, I never lived in Oklahoma, never visited, didn't even know the state existed until I saw the sign that said, "Welcome to the state of Oklahoma." And I basically got off the I-40 freeway, went inside a Walmart, robbed a bank, got back into my car, got back on the freeway, and was back out towards Texas. And that was my only experience with Oklahoma. Literally in the state for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes at the most, off that freeway, off that interstate freeway. I got 71 months in the federal system, and I went to the federal prison. Now, at this point in time in my life, I was done, man. I was finally had reached that rock bottom point in my life to where I didn't want nothing else to do with crime, with the streets, with gangs, with drugs, with hood rats, with this, with that, with Chewy, with fucking Bobby, with Billy, with Danny and Steve and Charles and fucking Juanito. Didn't want to have nothing to do with any of these people. I basically wanted to change my life. I sat there and looked at that federal court judge in the eyes and told him, "Your Honor, you need to give me the max. And the reason you need to give me the max is because if you were to let me out today, I'd be back into fucking running amok and doing all the shit that I was doing tomorrow." That's how real it was. That's how much I wanted to change. And that judge gave me every last drop of my sentencing guidelines. The category I was in, category 5, sentencing guidelines, 54 to 71 months, gave me 71 months, right on the dot. Not one day less, not one day more. And I went in there and I did all that. And I changed my life. Me and my mom started to build a bond together, to rekindle a relationship that we never had. Because she basically watched me grow up on the streets. Always into crime, always packing straps, slanging dope, always involved in all kinds of shady, shifty people, shit going on in my house. I mean, damn, man, I could tell you one time where me and my homie like beat this dude up. We thought we killed him when we wrapped him all up in a fucking carpet, was dragging his ass down the hall, and my mom seen it. And I still remember the look in her eyes when she saw that. It was like, she just turned around and walked back into her room and shut the door, and I will never forget that. And it didn't change me because I went on for about another 20 years of just going straight stupid, harder than the paint, to try to destroy my life. Antisocial, out the game, self-destructive, didn't give a fuck, didn't care if I lived or died, right? I was living by the code of the streets, and I was live by the gun, die by the gun. If I was going to die, I was going to go out shooting. And it didn't matter. If the cops were going to get behind me, we were going on a high-speed chase. I've been on a couple of high-speed chases. One of these days, maybe I'll break out my whole PSI and you could take a look at it. In black and white, my entire life story. Because I don't like to throw that out there. I don't want to get on here and talk about how badass I am and all that stuff. You could see that somewhere else, like I've told you. It's basically all about then and now. Like where I came from, what I was involved in, what I had accomplished along the way. I'm a survivor. I'm a straight soldier, a warrior. You could drop me on an island, butt naked, like Naked and Afraid, and I'll make it. I say it before and I'll say it again. I got hustle in my heart because I've been doing it my whole life. I've been in them streets my whole entire life. In them streets since I was 11 years old, all up in the mix. I'm 45 years old. So you have to ask yourself, if you're younger than me and you're not really, too keen on listening to old heads, as you like to call us, or OGs or whatnot, or old school, think about this, man. I made it to 45 for a reason. I didn't make it to 45 by being weak. I didn't make it to 45 by being soft. I didn't make it to 45 by being stupid. So if anything, you can give me that kind of credit right there. And what do I do now? For so long, I didn't contribute nothing to trying to help the generations below me to build and grow. I did nothing to help that. Nothing. And now I'm righting the wrongs. And I'm trying to give it back to you because I care. A lot of other people might be self-serving, self-interest in all of this, but I actually give a shit about what happens to you because I would hate to see anybody go down the road that I went down because a lot of people don't make it. I got a lot of homies that are in the ground. I got some homies that are in urns right now. Broke their mothers' hearts. A lot of mothers got to watch their child die before they died. And it should never be that way. My mom used to fear that every single day of her life. Please, and she didn't believe in God. My mom was an atheist. But that was the only time she'd pray. Please, God, don't let me outlive my son. With the way he's going, every time that phone rang, she thought that it was going to be somebody telling her that I was dead. Every single time. Or a knock at the door, it's going to be the cops said that I was dead. She's seen me on high-speed chases. She's seen me on the TV beating up some child molester in a court. Holding tank. With the news camera rolling. Just beating him up. Not trying to throw that out to you to make myself look like nothing. But this is the kind of shit I put my mother through. This is why I changed my life. Because it finally dawned on me that my first victim in everything that I did wasn't myself. My first victim in everything that I did was my own mother. I was second to that. So I set myself on the right path. I lost my mother 6 months before I released to cancer. I had nowhere to go. I had to go back to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, even though I never lived here, never been here. Didn't know anything about this place. Ended up getting off that bus, Greyhound station on Reno, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, with $38 in the shirt on my back, flip-flop thongs on my feet, and a duffel bag. I showed you all that stuff in the last episode. That's what I released in, was that stuff right there. By all accounts, considered to be totally institutionalized. 99.9% likely to recidivate within the first 60 days of release, or 90 days. 75% likely to re-offend within the first 4 months. Something like 80-something% likely to start abusing narcotics within the first 30 days. All the chips were stacked against me. Totally institutionalized. Gang file in Homeland Security and CLETs or Cal gangs, all in there, man. My name is all up in all that shit. I was going through a validation process in Chino, ended up maxing out and discharging my number before it was complete. But that don't mean they can't pick up where they left off and finish it if I was ever to get a new CDC number. All that was in front of me when I released to this halfway house. And going into that halfway house was like, what the fuck am I going to do? What am I going to do here? I don't even know which direction north, south, east, and west was. When I went out to go get my ID for the first time, I had to look at the direction the sun was rising just to see where east was. Nobody helped me. This Oklahoma halfway house, I would strongly encourage you to never commit. If you're going to commit crimes and you're on that lifestyle right now, don't do it in Oklahoma, because you're going to end up in this halfway house. Oklahoma halfway house. Opportunity, hope, and help. There ain't a whole lot of opportunities. There damn sure ain't no hope. And Lord forbid you get any help. If you can't help yourself, you're stuck. And I had nobody. I was beating that pavement up every single day wearing fucking chanclas, wearing flip-flop thongs on my feet to try to find a job. For almost a month. I was almost at that point where they were going to have to send me back if I didn't find a job. That's how bad it was for me when I got out. And this halfway house is depressing, man. Bologna sandwiches, bologna sandwiches, bologna sandwiches. I seen so much motherfucking bologna that the first time I went in the store to go shopping for myself, I saw some bologna sitting there. I had a PTSD flashback and almost started like stabbing everything on that rack, because that's how much it's traumatized you to see all that goddamn bologna. I will not eat white bread. No. After being at this halfway house, if you ever throw white bread at me, we're fighting. I don't even want to see a loaf of Wonder Bread ever again, because there ain't nothing wonderful about that bread, because I've seen it every single day at that halfway house. But that place is depressing, man. You got all these cats walking around, and they're all walking around how bad they are, wearing, you know, fresh Levi's and brand new kicks, and they're looking like they think they're like the hustler of the week. Like they that kind of, they got that swagger, like they're a baller and everything. But, you know, under the surface, like I said, everything in life, remember that I tell you this, everything in life is all about optics. Optics. Things ain't always what they seem. Remember that I said that, because we're going to be talking about that in a later episode. Optics. Just remember that word. Everything in life is optics. So you see these cats walking around, you're like, man, this fool must have been pushing some serious weight around this town, you know what I mean? Come to find out, his mom is giving him all the money for all that. His family's bringing him all that stuff. He's got some broad that he met off of Plenty of Fish back on the inside who's starving her kids just so this dude can go to the vending machine 5 times a day. This shit's really real, man. It's really what's happening. And I seen all this and I took it all in, and I'm like, I'm steering clear of all these cats, man, because I'm on a whole different level. And I don't even know what these people's paperwork looks like. I got all my paperwork holding on like, anybody want to see this? People are like holding up crucifixes at me like I'm Dracula. You know, that's right there is a red flag for me. So I don't want to see your paperwork. I don't even want to know who you are. I'll say what's up to you, but that's about it, man. For the most part, I mixed with only maybe a couple of people, and I pretty much checked them out. And that's it. It's just like, you in a halfway house, there's all kinds of funny people in there. Funny bunny ass people that have some weird charges, man. All around you. And you don't know who they are because of optics. You can have this guy all swolled up with all these tattoos and all that, and everybody's just like, man, that dude's all tatted and blasted. I bet you he's like a hitman or something. Ends up, man, this motherfucker was out there fucking diaper sniping and molest a bunch of kids. You never know. He could have been a tree jumping rapist down there at the park over by the college. I've seen it, man. You go into that Megan's Law website and you start to see who's really living around you, man. And that's the wonderful thing about computers, because you could check everybody out. Click of a button. And that's why I stayed away, and I fought hard to get out of there, because I had no idea what was around me. All these negative Nancys and Debbie Downers all around, oh, you can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. Well, you know what? I did it. I went and got myself a job, saved all my money, moved right into my own apartment. That halfway house told me they'd never seen something like it. They'd never seen anybody else do that, ever. And I was the first one, so that's like a huge accomplishment. So that's pretty much halfway houses right there. Depressing, bleak, ain't no hope, no opportunity or nothing like that. If you ain't got your life set up, you're some kind of out-of-towner and you just got pulled off the freeway and some kind of, you running smuggling dope or something, and you end up somewhere totally opposite of where you've ever lived, you're going to be going through a lot of this stuff, because I did. Sober living's whole nother story. Man, I'll tell you what, if you want to know what the definition of ego looks like, take a look at some of these sober livings in California. Now, most of them are controlled by people that were on dope at one time. I mean, these people were sucked up, shot out, digging in dumpsters, trying to find aluminum cans, stripping copper, riding around on bicycles at all hours of the night with a fucking toaster that they found out of somebody's trash, trying to hawk it off to the first dope man they see, selling ass, doing all that stuff. And then they cleaned up their life, got a substance abuse counseling certification, and now they got a sober living. And they're all into that big book. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, all that. And I'm not knocking it. Okay, it's great. It's a great program for a lot of people. But some of these people take it to the extreme, and some of these people got no business pushing their belief systems on other people, because that's not how you get somebody sober and get somebody right. But they think it is. I mean, I've been in some of these sober living houses where they load you all up into a van, take you to the first AA meeting. I had this one place that said when it goes around the room and you stand up to identify yourself, you identify yourself as scumbag. It says, "Hi everybody, my name is Scumbag and I'm an alcoholic." That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. It's just like some kind of bully, weirdo, hazing type shit. And I was never with it, man. So I never lasted long at a lot of these sober livings. Plus, I'm not all about the church and book religions and all that kind of stuff. I got my own spiritual path. So that should be respected. Whatever a man's path is, you should allow that man and give him all the information and support, or her, that they can get in order to get to that promised land. Sober livings are ego driven, and they're a great place to be if you ain't got nowhere to be, but just expect that you're going to be dealing with a whole lot of these politics inside of there. And you're going to be living in a room with somebody who could be snoring loud as fuck, farting their ass off, whatever it is, and you paying $200 a week for that. Might as well go get yourself a weekly rental at a motel. But that's a trigger for some people, because motels, hotels, they triggers for a lot of people, man. And that's what it is. Prison Break Raw. Let's get 1 million subscribers. Some of you might think that's kind of like an unrealistic goal. But hey, nobody ever thought that I was going to accomplish the things I accomplished thus far. 1 million subscribers. It's all up to you. Let's do it. Let's break out. Peace.